Great. Thank you so much, Scott. Scott's serving as our tech host tonight, a proud Ballard Rotarian. So thank you, Scott, for your support.
No, definitely.
Well, welcome, everybody. This is the closing session of our second annual Festival of Training. And I hope this isn't the first session that you've attended. All the other ones have been really jam-packed with interesting information, need to know information, and just some fun stuff that we just have a chance to share at this time of the year. And of course, if you missed anything, I'll be quick to remind you that all of the sessions are recorded and they're available on our District 5030 YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. So as Scott said, tonight, District Governor elect Howard and I are going to have sort of a virtual fireside chat and just kind of talk about what's going on, what has been going on, and then open up for some questions and conversation. So we can talk about Zoom, we can talk about fundraising, whatever's on everyone's minds. Does that sound okay, Howard? The phrase of the year.
Yes. Oops. Yes. Oops. Yes. Sounds great. Ready.
Okay.
So we're going to go back and forth and chat with each other like we're sitting next to a fireplace. So buckle up and enjoy your conversation. I think you'll have a good time here. Buckle in, I should say, not buckle up. So Kathy, what really happened this past year in clubs, in the district, and in the wider Rotary world?
Yeah, I've been asked that question a lot. What actually happened this year? And when I look back on it, and I think we can probably all say it was a unique shared experience that we're not looking forward to repeating anytime soon. But we basically, experienced a shock in our way of life, in the way we Rotarize, in all aspects. And that was tough because we, as Rotarians and just, citizens in our community, are used to doing things certain ways. And suddenly all of that was upended. And especially as Rotarians, sort of the core fundamentals of meeting and serving and having fellowship in person, all of that wasn't possible. And so when I think about how to describe this year and what happened, I would say it was a year of innovation, a year of frustration, a year of revelation, a year of determination, and now I would say we're going to close the year out with some celebration. And when I think about innovating, every club had to think of different ways to do their fundraising, to pull people together and communicate. When I think about frustration, I know personally I was very disappointed that we didn't have a district conference that had been planned and all kinds of other things. And I'm sure club presidents, club officers, and just all of our members experienced a degree of frustration, whether it was logging on to a meeting or whatever it happened to be. When I say it was a year of revelation, I think there were some lessons learned, and I think we can come away with some insights that I hope we continue to hold on to, that we can have different ways of Rotarizing, and we can find different ways to touch the community and serve the community. We can find different ways to recruit new members. And we had, 15 clubs this year grow their membership in this very unusual year, and 10 clubs just hold their own, which is remarkable. And I would call it, given the circumstances, a win. So I think we should take stock of our lessons learned. When I talk about determination, there were setbacks for everybody all along the way, but we just had to keep our eye on, on our priorities and make sure we continue to focus on those and not get too sidetracked, not, have those setbacks be momentary, but not long-term. And now I would say we are among some of the most fortunate Rotarians in the world to be able to be looking back at the worst of COVID. That is not the case in most of the world right now. I don't know if any of you have been following, for example, what's happening in Japan. Right now, Taiwan is in a complete lockdown. They escaped some of the early waves and now are struggling. And of course, our fellow Rotarians in places like Brazil and India, it's a total tragedy. So it's, with a lot of gratitude that I think we have our year-end celebration, because we are indeed very fortunate. But we have come through, I think, the worst of this. There's still more to go, but it's certainly been a very different year than I would have expected. And I hope as time passes, and for all of us, we look back on it and we say, that was the year that was, and are grateful for what's coming in the future. In fact, that actually prompts me to ask you, Howard, what do you think the new normal is going to look like for Rotary? And when and how are clubs and districts in our district going to get back to normal?
So I think, thank you for that question. Great answer. I loved all your words from the last answer you gave there. I think the new normal is really going to be any combination of in-person, hybrid, or virtual meetings. It really depends on the members of the individual clubs and their individual comfort levels. Keep in mind, though, that there was a real silver lining from this COVID period, which allowed us to really spread our wings on speakers coming not just from the local area, but from around the world. And I'm not sure we really want to give that up. So we really, I think, are going to work together to see how we can make the best of both, in-person, virtual, and hybrid meetings. Even the fundraisers, which may not have been as much fun, but you've been able to really attract people, previous, former Rotarians that can now participate in what's going on. If you are interested in hybrid clubs, and I know there's a lot of issues about the technical part, which we'll talk about training a little later, do me a favor and check out Bellevue Eastside's Jason Reichard's recent Festival of Training session that he did the other day. Great information, and I know he's willing to help anybody out. On the other hand, we are, as Kathy mentioned about the district conference, we are going to have our first in-person conference in 2.5 years, the first week of October in Coeur d'Alene. So if you're chomping at the bit to get out there and meet old friends and new friends, this is really going to be the place to do it. In this past year, incoming presidents go to what's called PETS, which is the President-elect Training Seminar that was held virtually for 9 districts. It is now planned to be in person again at the Doubletree in February. And finally, in a recent conversation with your soon-to-be District Governor-elect Kay Peterson, there are plans for yet a 3rd annual online festival of training. So you can see that next year, we're not going to go from this year back to everything in person. I think it's going to be an interesting mix and a real learning experience that could last for a long time. So, Kathy, you've added some new district committees this year. What are the district committees? Why do we have them? And how do they help our clubs?
Great. Well, the committees are really the workhorses of the district at the district level. And I'll just remind everybody, although looking at the screen, I think everybody knows that the whole purpose of the district is to serve the clubs. And the committees are one of the ways in which we do that. And I'm so glad you're here, Larry, because when people ask me, what is a great model for a district committee, I always give the example of the International Service Committee. I think is a true role model for a well-functioning district committee. It's international service, so there is a common focus, a common interest point, and then all of the club international service committee members have an opportunity, have this forum because of the committee to come together to share their projects, questions about grant writing and proposals and funding and various issues. and they aren't isolated in their clubs. The district committee provides a forum for them to come together. And that was the model for our Peace Builder Committee, for our brand new Environmental Sustainability Committee. But we also have committees that are advancing overall Rotary initiatives. And one that immediately comes to mind that was very engaged this year was our District Public Image Committee. That had been a little bit dormant for a while, and we made the decision this year, after years of perhaps underinvesting in our public image and PR, to lean into that this year. And in order to do that, the District Public Image Committee came together, and they were amazing. They looked across the district, across our entire footprint, all of King County in the southern swath of Snohomish County, and said, what are the best ways to connect with our community and raise the awareness? And so there's been an ongoing public image campaign through social media. I'm hoping that you've heard of, or maybe you were lucky enough to see one of the buses with our ads on it, a variety of public service announcements, but none of that would have happened without a district working committee. So district committees, I think, are everyone's favorite because it pulls Rotarians from a variety of clubs around a particular interest or in common pursuit of a Rotary objective like public image. So long answer to your short question, Howard, but district committees are great. So one of the committees that is going to be expanding and maybe looking a little different in the future is our training. Could you talk about what training is going to look like next year? Because there's some exciting things on the horizon.
Well, we are excited to be right now finishing our second annual Festival of Training, which came out of COVID. Remember, years ago, we used to meet for half a day on a Saturday in May and do a great presentation and a great training program. However, I think this annual Festival of Training, which is a brainchild of Kathy and Jean and many others, we've continued on this year and really excited about that. I want to publicly thank Wendy Fisher, a district trainer, Henry Wang, and his group of techies for organizing all the festival tech people, and Connor Talbot, who's our incoming district chief operating officer, for being the orchestra leader. Of course, we do want to thank the presenters and the techs for each of the sessions, and there's many people on this call today that were presenters and techs. As we enter into the new year, we are going to have a district training and leadership team. One of the things we're going to starting in July, hopefully on the second Wednesday of each month at 5:30, is going to be a pop-up training sessions. It's going to be one session for an hour. We're going to talk about such topics as we just mentioned earlier: hybrid meetings, including its technical training, empowering women, which I'll talk a little bit about later, foundation, vocational service. We're going to be separating membership, which we'll talk about later, into recruitment and retention, public image, peace building, community service, and on. Of course, next May, we're going to have the Festival of Training, the pets, which I just mentioned, and we're also going to continue our alliance with Toastmasters to help grow your leadership and speaking skills, which we started this year, which in the long run, I think will make your Rotary membership even more valuable. So stay tuned for more training opportunities. You can't train enough. And I know we will try to do some in person as well as virtual, but there's a lot that goes on. And if you have suggestions, I know there's past district governors here. John, I see you there, and others. If you have programs or training sessions that you have done or would like to see the district do, please contact Wendy or myself, and we would love to take that into consideration. So when we talk about members and keeping your membership active and staying more valuable, that brings to mind how many members there are in the district right now. And what are the trends of membership, Kathy, if you could help us on that?
Right. Thanks, Howard, for that. And I'm super excited about what's coming in terms of training and development in the year ahead. So membership, that was, I think, the one thing that we all held our breath on. Would we be able to hold on to our members? Would we be able to recruit new members? What would that look like? And I'm glad you asked that question, Howard, because over the course of the year, I have heard people say, we have 5,000 Rotarians in our district. And I think, oh, in my dreams. And then I hear people say, well, you know, we probably only have 2,000 Rotarians in our district. So I thought we could set the record straight. We started this Rotary year, so back in July 1st of 2020, with 2,302 Rotarians, active Rotarians in our district across 45 Rotary clubs. That did not count Rotaractors or Interactors. We had a loss of about 1% of our membership in the first half of the year. And right now, we will probably lose just under another 1% of our membership. So we will be down about 40 members. That's the sobering news. Now, the rest of the story is the fact that we are trying to grow Rotary by launching new clubs. And so we have new Rotarians in new clubs coming on board. And so it may be a bit of a timing and accounting issue, but in terms of our membership trend, this may end up being the first year in about 7 or 8 years that we actually have a net increase in the number of District 5030 Rotarians. And because of the district's commitment to continue to add new clubs and bring in more Rotarians, in addition to the new Rotarians, the traditional clubs, you know, historic clubs are bringing in, it's quite likely, Howard, that you know, this is just the beginning of the climb back. I don't know if we'll get to 5,000, but the climb back in terms of regaining some of the membership count that we've had in the past. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of the numbers and the trends.
Thank you.
So that's where we are as we kind of end this year. Maybe you could share with us, Howard, because I know it's an important theme in the coming year, how you're going to continue to grow and retain Rotarians so that, you know, so that we found the bottom and we're on the way back up to membership growth. What have you got planned for the coming year?
So on the global scale, incoming Rotary President Shekhar Mehta has decided that he is wanting to break the 17-year level of 1.2 million Rotarians. And his goal is when he leaves office on June 30th of 2022, that we have 1.3 million members Rotary worldwide. Now, we're not asking 1.3 million members in King County, but at least around the world. So what are we going to do? We are going to be separating the membership committee, the historic membership committee, into a membership recruitment committee and a separate membership retention committee. Keep in mind that it's easier to keep a member than it is to get a member. So we're going to focus individually on both those areas. We're going to take into consideration incoming President Shekhar Mehta's theme for next year, which is each one bring one. He's asking every Rotarian to go out and bring a visitor to a meeting who can eventually, hopefully, become a member. He is so committed to this theme that he has literally pledged to write a personal letter of thanks to each member who brings in a new member. Wow, that's a lot of writing. So we're going to support that program of bringing in new members through our great public image campaign that started this year with social media and buses and potentially billboards and more. We're also going to be looking at a retention side called, I'm twisting a little bit of Shekhar Mehta's area, and calling it Each One, Keep One.
Mhm.
And I have a quick story to tell you that when I was president of the Emerald City Rotary Club a few years ago, we had a longtime active member who um, in town, when we knew he was back in town, hadn't shown up for a while. And we were like, oh, I guess he must be busy, but nobody really gave him a call. Well, one day out of the blue, he calls me up and he goes, hey, Howard, sorry I haven't been in any meetings lately, but I just got diagnosed recently with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And it was like hitting myself over the head with a 2x4. Like, oh my God. So we really need to keep track of our fellow members. Everybody talks about the purpose or the value of doing attendance. There's real value in doing attendance, because then you get to see when someone misses 3 or 4 meetings. Don't just ignore that. I mean, if we're all family and you had someone not come to Thanksgiving for 3 years, hopefully, if not sooner, you make a phone call. So each one, keep one. Each Rotarian should go out there and hook up with another Rotarian and keep in touch. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to work with Rotaractors. Now, I don't know if everybody knows this, but Rotaractors are very special in Rotary. Not only if you're a Rotaractor do you belong to Rotaract, you can at the same time be a member of Rotary. So if you take all the Rotaractors out there and make them Rotary members as well, wow, there's a jump in those numbers. We can maybe get to 5,000 eventually somewhere, Kathy, but it's definitely on the plans. So each one bring one, and also each one keep one, both for a membership recruitment and a membership retention. Also, I went to a meeting the other day for the Edmonds Club, and they do this, I believe it was the Edmonds Club, and they do this great program where they have some fun in the meeting, and they really get to know a little bit more about the members. And as much as you may think you know what everybody in your club does, do you really know that? And so we're gonna really bring back and focus on vocational service, which I think will get people to be able to share what they do and be able to give more reasons to be a valued part of Rotary. So I know this past year has been very interesting with COVID and civil issues around the world. And I know we got involved in DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So Kathy, can you tell us about that section and also the environmental area getting attention in the district?
Right. Thanks, Howard. And I love that. Each one get one, bring one, and each one keep one. That's fabulous. Yes. So Rotary added a 7th area of focus in support of the environment. And so projects and activities and advocacy in that area now became core, along with the other areas of focus in terms of where Rotarians were investing time and energy to create positive change. And so to keep up with Rotary International, again, kind of a segue back or a link back to the comments before about district committees, is there already were many clubs doing environmentally themed projects. Some even had committees, but they were in silos. And so this was the first year of the District 5030 Environmental Sustainability Committee. And again, just like the, following the lead of the International Service Committee, the whole purpose there was to convene all of the folks in clubs who are doing environmental projects so they could find each other, compare notes, join together on projects, on education, share resources, common advocacy, variety of things. And in fact, I'll put a pitch out right now because the Environmental Sustainability Committee is hosting our district's first World Environment Day celebration. The UN World Environment Day is June 5th, and they've got a great program lined up on that Saturday morning from 9 until about 10:45. And if anyone's interested, and frankly, we should all be interested in our environment and our climate. This is a path to further action and education. And so having that committee puts us in sync with Rotary's more global focus on the environment, but also brings it home to the club level with local projects and a local focus as well. So that was the environment, and that was on the drawing board as an initiative this year. What wasn't on the radar screen, at least for me anyway, was the intense focus on the issue around social and racial injustice. And these issues have existed for a long time, and Rotarians have not always been addressing them openly. Aware of them, I'm sure, because we're all informed and we can look around, but we haven't been actively engaging as Rotarians. And in light of the murder of George Floyd last May, I think Rotarians around our district said, we can't sit still anymore. And there was a lot of energy around taking a stand, making statements. And in fact, as it has transpired over the course of the year, and every club has chosen how they want to pursue it. I see Judy Ginn, I mean, the International District Club has been, you know, on a very ambitious path to address these issues of inequity in the community. And I don't want to pick on that club, but it's an example of how each club, given their membership and their members' interest in these issues, have done everything from additional training to rethinking their program focus, to rethinking the projects and the beneficiaries of their projects, all through a diversity and equity and inclusion lens. But at the district level, we put together a task force to try to provide some resources and some programming that could be available to everyone, anyone who had an interest. And that resulted in 4 Race Matters to Rotary forums. And it was an opportunity, again, for Rotarians to come together and learn and exchange ideas. I want to do a shout out to Jessica Bouillon, who's our Peace Builder Committee Chair, for hosting book groups. This was an opportunity across the year for Rotarians to read some contemporary titles on these issues, to read and then come together to talk and share, ask questions. And not everybody has that forum, but Rotary provided that forum. So I think it was time and energy well spent. If nothing else, I think it gives us a starting point. I think we're going to be on a long journey as Rotarians, wrestling with issues of inequity in our community. And we do a lot to support our community, and our DEI initiatives shine the light, I think, on even more that we can do. So that was, yeah, that was a big part of this year.
Thank you.
So Howard, back to you. Talking about projects and funding, this year we had urgent community need grants. Didn't require a club match, but it was an opportunity to get some funding to clubs to help where there were identified areas of need. What are you thinking about in terms of that kind of a grant program or something similar, something else in the coming year?
Well, this year's urgent need programs, I think was just phenomenal. And I love taking care of the local communities. Of course, international is very, very important, but using those grants locally was great for this year. We're going to do the same thing next year with a slight twist. And one of my goals that I want to bring into the district this coming year, is to break down the silos of Rotary clubs. And so often you go from Rotary club to visits to other Rotary clubs, and you find out the projects that they're working on, and you suddenly realize, oh my God, all these clubs are doing all of these same projects. And they do a little bit here and a little bit here. Little not being bad, but you know, they're each doing their own thing. Well, Could you imagine if we joined, depending, I mean, the clubs has to agree to it, but if they joined together to do the same project, but a little bigger? So the twist this year, this coming year, will be working with the assistant governors to see if we can take those urgent community need grants and make them area specific. So get an area that's geographic and say, you know, do you want to work on a project together? What would you like to work on a project together? So that you can all go into the same community area and make even a bigger impact. That's kind of what we're working on, is really working with the area governors. But we are going to continue with the same basic concept of it. And I mean, there's you know, the word urgent. I know Alan Murray is here, past District Governor Alan Murray, and you know, when you think of urgent in the community, the first thing that comes to my mind is blood, and there's always a need for blood, especially during any pandemic or any period of time. And we're going to continue the work with BloodWorks Northwest, and maybe some clubs will want to do a program where they get involved in donating money to go out there and do even bigger projects with that. So there's lots of projects right in our backyard. We're going to try to make them geographic and continue that trend for the next year.
Love it.
So this year, RI President Holger had prioritized launching into Rotary, new Rotary clubs. So can you tell us how that's impacted our district, Kathy?
You bet. So a little over a year ago, everyone in our governor, on our governor team, sat down and said, let's have a strategic plan for launching new clubs. And launching new clubs was the #1 priority of this year's Rotary International president. But we thought it had a merit and said, rather than just focus on it in the 2020-2021 year, let's have a 3-year plan. And our zone was interested, a collection of districts around the West Coast was also interested in taking this focus, this year's focus on launching new clubs and extending it out. So we were ready to do that. So many of you have heard me already say, so forgive me for repeating, our district committed to establish 10 new clubs over the course of 3 years. And it brings fresh energy with a minimum of 20 new members in each club. It brings us 200 new Rotarians into our Rotary family. And I will say the clubs that we're working on for this year, and groundwork is being laid for the coming year. One of the intriguing things is we are having our first cause-based clubs. And unlike traditional clubs that we all are familiar with that do service projects in any number of arenas across the areas of focus, cause-based clubs have a singular focus. And that draws individuals who also have a passion in that singular cause. And so there is a new club, the Rotary Club of the Environment for Puget Sound, and the Rotary Club of the Northwest Ending Sex Trafficking will be our first 2 cause-based clubs. They will certainly not be our last. These are fun. I've heard of some intriguing new club concepts that have been launched in other districts in other parts of the world. Veterans clubs. In fact, one other one I'll mention, which I thought was great, is in response to the devastating wildfires in Australia, where so much of the wildlife was injured and displaced. There are Australian cause-based clubs being set up, for example, to care for the koala. And the whole Rotary Club is raising money and doing projects in support of koala restoration, koala rescue, and ultimately koala release back into the wild. So while we don't have koalas in our district, it's an example of how Rotarians can come together with a singular cause in mind and mobilize and have a club. And so we'll be working on that. And I'm so glad to see our district governor nominee Kay online, because she is our #1 new club cheerleader champion extraordinaire. So Kay, big shout out to you for all you've been doing behind the scenes to get these new clubs coached and mentored and cultivated and launched. So yeah, long answer to your short question about new clubs, Howard, but this is a wonderful initiative around the Rotary world, and right here in our district where we have this opportunity to bring new Rotarians in, and we need to embrace all these folks. Okay, well, thank you for asking about the clubs, because I love talking about the cause-based clubs. Howard, you talked at the beginning, but I'm going to pull you back and have you tell us more. It's so exciting that we are going to have a quote real in-person district conference in October. And can you remind us where it is, when it is, and some of the highlights? Lots of reasons to go, but remind us, please.
Well, thank you. And it's very exciting to see this actually come to fruition. We will be holding, as Kathy said, the first district conference in 2.5 years since the last one was held in Spokane in April of 2019. Many people have been to Coeur d'Alene before. That's where we're holding it again. If you haven't been there for a while, they've renovated recently, so it's quite beautiful. We will be, the theme of the conference will be Ignite Your Passion with Action. We really want to hear what is your personal passion in Rotary. By doing that, we're going to highlight the 7 areas of Rotary's focus. Keep in mind that we used to have 6. Starting July 1, the 7th newest focus is environmental sustainability, which Kathy just mentioned. There's a new club in our district on the environment. And we hope to learn each of your passions. And we're going to go out and do a little program while we're there to learn that. The weekend will benefit financially the Polio Plus program. I know you've seen these signs at the airport and all over, but we are only that far away from eradicating polio, but we're not there yet. So we cannot take the foot off the gas pedal. So Friday morning, we will start with a golf tournament focusing to benefit Polio Plus. If you have a company, if you have friends that have companies, if you just want to be your own sponsor and you want to sponsor a hole, we would love for you to do that. They're not expensive, but the money does go to polio. If you don't want to golf at the same time, we're going to have a community service project in Coeur d'Alene. It's really important to me that wherever you have a conference, that you don't just come in, eat the food, see the hotel and leave. You want to leave a lasting impression in the community. So we're going to do a project in the community itself. There are 4 Rotary clubs in that area there. And one of our 2 co-chairs for the conference actually lives in Coeur d'Alene now, while he also works in Spokane. So he's right in the middle of it, getting a project set up. We will, of course, have speakers. We have some great speakers Friday night for dinner, Saturday breakfast, Saturday evening. Saturday evening is going to be a wonderful event, again, dealing with polio. For those of you who have heard in the past, Ann Hussey, she is a polio survivor, wonderful speaker, and we are going to be honoring Ezra Tashomi and his warriors. Not just Ezra, but we're going to be focusing Ezra Tashomi and his warriors who have gone on the many years of trips to Ethiopia to do immunization programs. And there's probably people in this room, on this screen here, who've gone there. So we're going to have the Iron Lung in the lobby. We're going to have raise a QR code to polio. We're going to have a hall of friendship, not a house of friendship. So the hall of friendship will be throughout the entire resort. We're asking that each club consider bringing a display of their favorite projects that they do, both locally and globally. We will have breakout speakers. We're going to have 30 breakout speakers about many, many different subjects and topics. Some of our Rotary district projects will have breakout sessions, Harvest Against Hunger, Minds, Music, Men's Minds, and other. And of course, there will also be a annual district meeting. We're asking everybody to consider to come, meet your old friends, greet new friends. We got a very reasonable rate, $269 up through the end of the month, $299 after that. The hotel is very reasonable. To get to the conference online, it's very simple. 5030conference.com. Again, 5030conference.com. I'll put it into the chat room. We would really love to see everybody there. If you do sign up this evening before midnight, and if you haven't already signed up, you will actually get a special gift at registration. So please come be there, celebrate the district, celebrate getting out and seeing everybody again, and bring and enjoy your passion, because it's only going to make a better experience for you in Rotary and for your cohorts as well. So that's what's planned, and we hope to see you there. So speaking of what's going to be happening in October, we aren't done with this year yet, and we have lots to still go on. Kathy, I heard there's a year-end series of events the last week of June to really close out a most wonderful and interesting year, a once-in-a-lifetime year. I don't think we'll be able to talk about this in the future. So can you share with us what's going on in June?
Sure. After listening to you talk about what's going to happen in Coeur d'Alene, I'm going to just call it the warm-up act. But anyway, when we suspended the planning for the conference in October of 2020 out in Walla Walla, we didn't reschedule because everything was too uncertain. And so just watching and waiting to see what our pandemic situation would be, and hoping we could pull off what I'm calling a kind of a pop-up a gathering. And in fact, we're fortunate as part of the celebration we'll have that we can come together. So what Howard's mentioning is the final weekend of June is going to be our district weekend, not a district conference, but our district weekend. And it will start on Saturday morning. We've got a great speaker, Deborah Rutter, who leads the Kennedy Center, but she was here with the Seattle Symphony, is going to give us some of her lessons on leadership in action. And then we'll celebrate all of the new members who joined Rotary this year in this pandemic year. And then we'll go into the meeting of our annual district business session. And we've got some things to, business to handle. And we'll have each of the district committees do a quick report out on what was accomplished this year. So that's Saturday morning. Then the rest of Saturday and all of Sunday are a series of outdoor district activities. So for example, we're going to have Rotary Day at the Cougar Mountain Zoo. David Bobanek has agreed, and a couple of his fellow bikers have agreed to organize a bike ride. We're hoping to have a picnic. I'm going to lead a hike. We're going to have a variety of activities. The Rotaractors are going to host one and possibly two cleanups that we can participate in on that Saturday, the 26th of June, and on Sunday, the 27th. And then on Monday, June 28th, we're going to convene at the Newcastle Golf Course on the east side. And if you're a golfer, it's a shotgun start at 1:30 in the afternoon. And if you're not a golfer, but you like to see people, we are going to have our first and last in-person district meeting of the year on June 28th. And there'll be a reception and a dinner and a program. And that's when there'll be the opportunity to recognize our Rotarian of the Year. And also, I'll have the privilege of handing the baton to Howard. So it'll be our district transition event. And there'll be lots of information about this in the upcoming district newsletter and on our district Facebook page, or you could contact me if you've got any questions. But I'd love to see as many people there as possible, because I haven't seen anybody in person yet this year. So June 28th. But 2 days later, 3 days later is July 1st, which is the launch of the new Rotary year. So Howard, can you remind us what the Rotary theme is this year? And next year, I'm sorry, in starting July 1st, and also what some of the priorities are for Rotary International.
Well, thank you, Kathy, and I'm really looking forward to that last weekend. That's going to be nice to meet again and be around all the Rotarians. I can't wait. Next year, we're going to talk about two themes. We're going to talk about Rotary International theme, and then we're going to talk about the district themes. So the Rotary International theme, I've mentioned a little bit before. Incoming Rotary International President Shekhar Mehta, he has three areas of focus. One is, again, membership, which is each one bring one. I explained that earlier, where each Rotarian is asked to bring someone to hopefully turn into a member, so that by June 30th of 22, we can break that 1.3 million mark. Wouldn't that be an achievement? Second is each district is going to be asked to hold 1 day of service district-wide. We've done that in the past. We've done cleanup days in Bill's year. We've done the blood drives in Alan's year. And we're doing lots of programs. We're having the weekend this year. And we've had great programs online in Kathy's year with DEI and the environment. Third, and most important to Shekhar Mehta, is he wants members to focus their efforts on empowering girls and ensuring their access to education, resources, services, and opportunities so that future generations of women leaders will have their tools needed to success. So especially around the world, if your clubs can work on that internationally, I'm sure that would be, as well as at home. I mean, we're not there either. We still have a way to go to create a level playing field. On the district side, we're going to take some of those themes. One is we're going again to do the membership retention, each one keep one program, where we're going to buddy up and try to get retention to be a greater program. Two is we're going to ignite your passion into action, which we'll highlight at the conference. And third is breaking down the silos of clubs and service to witness and join neighboring clubs in the area to impact Rotary. My club, my home club, the Emerald City Rotary Club, is dedicated to the education of young people. We had a phone call one day from the Magnolia Club. Oh, hey, we're doing scholarships for some students here. Are you interested in helping us with in joining us with scholarships? Well, gosh, we have a huge scholarship program here. So we're working together to join that. Last year, when I was the district governor nominee, like Kay is today, one of my responsibilities was to be the assistant governor over Seattle 4. And I was happy to be at one of their board meetings, and I was sitting next to some other Seattle 4 Rotarians, and was sitting next to this one person. And I said, well, who are you and what do you do? And she goes, oh, well, I'm the education chair for Seattle 4. And so you say to yourself, well, Seattle 4 is huge, and they have an education committee. We've never even talked to them about an education committee. So the opportunity to break down some of these silos and learn what other clubs do to make even greater impact, both for the community, locally or globally, or even for the members of the club. I mean, if a small club could join a large club and do some great projects together, wow, the end of the day, the impact is even larger. So again, Shekhar Mehta's each one bring one, hold a day of service, and empowering girls. And we're looking at each one keep one, ignite your passion with action, and breaking down the silos. So that's what 21-22 looks like, barring any major changes in the world.
That's wonderful, Howard. I can't wait.
Back to you.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to Howard and I ramble on and on. We'd be happy to open it up for any questions or comments or whatever's on anybody's mind. Hi, Judy.
Hi, I have a question for Howard. Howard, the district conference is going to be before the colleges are back in session. And I'm wondering if I should be encouraging the Rotaract president to attend, even though school hasn't started and they don't know what kind of a club they'll have and so on and so forth. Are there going to be any special things for Rotaract?
Yes, thank you for asking that. First of all, the conference is October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So I'm sure most colleges are back by then. I know WSU is back.
The weekend before.
Right.
They're not really started. I mean, they don't even have their.
And it's a quick ride from WSU, by the way. Up to...
Yeah, well.
So now that you asked about Rotaractors, yes, and I apologize for not bringing this up. We are fortunate enough to have in our district a major donor, which are Arch Clump Society members. And they have donated $5,000 to go for Rotaractors to attend the conference. So the Rotaractor fee is $149, discounted from the regular Rotary rate. And if you divide 5,000 into 149, you come up with 33 Rotaractors. And so we mentioned that Kathy and I and the other Governor Line members met with Mia Harris, who is going to be the new DRR, or District Rotaract Representative. And when we mentioned that to her, she was thrilled. So we will be focusing on that and getting that information out.
Is it too early for them to sign up now?
Oh, no. We will be getting that information out to Mia. Mia just got named officially, literally the other day. So I need to give her a couple of days of breathing room, and then I'll share that with her. On Memorial Day will also be email day, and we'll be emailing out lots of reminders and invitations to new invitees for the conference. And I'm actually working with another Rotaractor who's president of the Seattle University Rotaract Club, who has been chomping at the bit to get him on a district leadership committee. So I'm meeting with him this weekend, and we're going to work on that as well. So we really want to bring Rotaractors into the fold, including getting Rotaractors to join Rotary, to help those numbers and to actually help them transition easier rather than waiting until the end of their Rotaract experience to then become a Rotarian.
How are Rotary clubs doing that as far as the what they're charging Rotaractors to when they join?
Well, for example, I'll take my club as an example. If you join the Emerald City Rotary Club and you're under 35, you get a 40% discount on your dues. It doesn't hold us back from saying, well, if you're a Rotaractor, maybe we'll do the same or even better. So I think it's up to the individual clubs on how they can embrace Rotaractors coming in, whether it's through dues or other programs. Kathy, do you have a thought on that?
I think it's a club decision.
Yeah.
Well, I understand it's a club decision. I don't mean that. I'm just wondering what kinds of choices are clubs making about making that possible for Rotaractors? Expectations to be on committees, finances, those kinds of things that we normally, donations, that we expect of our regular Rotarians. What kinds of things are clubs deciding? Our club is struggling with it. We want to do this. We're just, we're making up the rules as we go along. We feel like we're out in the wilderness figuring it out, reinventing the wheel.
Well, I think that many clubs don't even know that. I don't think a lot of clubs know that Rotaractors can become Rotarians to the point where they're actually making a specific plan. So we will be rolling that out. We'll probably have a breakout session at the conference in Coeur d'Alene about Rotaractors and Rotary and a marriage of the two.
Great, thanks.
Great question, Judy. Thank you.
And I don't know, your hand up first. Somebody over there in West Seattle, either Martha or John, you can fight for who goes first.
Unmuted, but I'm going to turn it over to Martha.
You have
You go
seniority.
first, Martha.
No. You have seniority. You go first, John.
Age before beauty.
All right, I can't, I'll have to say, because Martha was one of the ones I was going to make a comment on, is that, and Kay, take a look at it, with the exception of you and that sort of AG position you're in, Martha's the only AG on this, and yet I look around at the attendees here, and many of them are in the clubs that she's the AG for. So continue to, Kay, encourage your AGs to work with their clubs and whatnot, to attend these as long as we have hybrid meetings going on. We need them. They need to hear what other clubs are doing so they can help their clubs. And they don't get it by hanging out on an island, be it Vashon or Mercer Island or wherever we're at these days, or the island of West Seattle, as Martha and I and Kathy know. But that's one of those things. The Rotaractors, you talked about the one club up to 35. I'll tell you, some of those Rotaractors that are 35 are making a lot better money than I ever did when I was 35 years old. So, you know, each Rotaract club, and I think it was said, is a little different depending on who they are. One of the things I have on here, I've marked them down quickly. Maggie, say hi to Rock. Let's see. Oh, John, your handwriting is getting worse and worse. Howard, you'd mentioned the thing that I've said before. We lose our members when we take them off the roll, but we actually lose them months in advance when no one checks on them and whatnot. And that was the one thing I've been in Rotary for 45 years. You had to, if you didn't show up after the second one, you got a phone call from your secretary to find out, is there something wrong? And that's such a key thing, that we keep that communications going with our members. And that kind of gets down to mentorship. In our own club, mentors, there's a few people that don't believe we should have them. I believe mentors are important because they stay together throughout the duration while they're both in the club. So it isn't just a helping out somebody who's, you know, you've been assigned to. So those are the things that I really appreciate. And I appreciate the festival of training that's been gone on and the work that's been put into it. So I'll turn it over to Martha now. Take it away, girl.
Oh, turning it over. No, so many good things. And I agree with a lot of the things you said. And I want to particularly thank you, Kathy, and Howard for bringing this together and summarizing it. I'm so sorry that more people weren't here to hear this. And I know if we had been in a real environment where people had to go to funnel into one classroom or another at Seattle University or wherever we were last, there would have been many more ears on this. It's unfortunate that as many ears haven't heard this, because there's so much valuable information in what you just provided. I totally appreciate that. Somehow Ruth Ann is here as one of the upcoming president-elects and whatnot. It's just, everybody needs to hear this, you know, where we are and where we've gone. And I guess maybe the missing element that we're observing from this is that somehow people aren't feeling engaged, and that's been one of the part of the detritus of this year. It's really hard to keep people there. It's everybody gets so many emails. And so much on Zoom and whatever. It's hard to bring people in, and we'll do that. We'll do that better. We'll get this information to them tonight, even though they weren't here. It's just what the rest of us have to do. That's part of it. I wanted to say for membership, as John pointed out, and our West Seattle Club, we're doing some interesting things. And one of the things I like that West Seattle's doing, and my regret as being an AG, is that I'm not as active in my club as I'd like to be. But one of the things they're doing in my absence, yay, is they've created this membership strategic plan where they're soliciting membership ideas or particular individuals for membership from all of us. And then they're going to send out, president-elect are going to send out a mass email to new members or to prospective new members and invite them to a meeting.
when we have an in-person meeting here in the next few months. And so it's going to be all these potential new members and us in a meeting. It's just a neat idea. It's collecting all of us together and they're soliciting from, our president right now is soliciting from us ideas for new members, a name, an email address, and a classification to invite them through the club, through an email, to a particular meeting. So you are invited to come to this meeting. And I just think that's a neat idea. I haven't seen that in 12 years of membership. I thought that was cool. Aside from all that, Judy Ginn, I wanted to ask you about Books for the World. What's the future of Books for the World in this year or next year? Because that's a hands-on, in-person, you got to be kind of in contact with people sort of thing. And it's a project for members and members.
So the last 2 times that it happened, I pretty much did it by myself. There was no district help, no district wide participation, and I'm not in a position to do it alone again. So if people in the district want to get together and do it, I'm certainly happy to work with a committee to do it, but not alone.
Do you know, is it going forward? Do you even know if it's
Books for the World out of Texas? Oh, absolutely. They're a going concern. There are districts in the United States and Canada where it's a district project, and they have a warehouse. People can deliver books all the time. They get them from school districts. They get them from libraries, and they just work on it year round. And when they get a container full, they ship it, and then they have a work party, like every month they have a work party and so on, but they have a dedicated space in which to work, and we haven't been that fortunate.
It sounds like one of
the past. That's a really cool project.
Yeah, it's interesting because people ask about it a lot, and I just don't even know what to say.
It sounds like a perfect opportunity to kick off Howard's Breaking Down the Silos. Sounds like West Seattle and a couple clubs need to get together and get some strength in numbers, and then it just progresses from there. So I think we've got our first germinated idea.
And Kay, also remember that it's not free.
Right.
Clubs have to be willing to put money into it. It just
Right,
is
but-
free to do it. Yeah. I mean,
But I
the
think
books
you gotta
are- the
reach
books
out.
are
That's
free, but
Howard's
shipping
point.
costs a lot of money, and the packaging and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there are things you have to pay for.
It's a nice on-hand unifying project for various clubs and for prospective members and for new members in terms of retention and getting their participation in the hands-on
It's
events.
definitely a project I love. I just don't have the personal bandwidth to do it alone.
We will be in touch, Julia.
Oh, darn.
Be careful what you ask.
That was my first project when I became a new Rotarian, and I raised my hand too many times and said yes to everything. That was one of the projects that I said yes to, and it was just so gratifying.
It is gratifying.
John, I just wanted to reply to you that I take your comments about the AGs to heart, and we will definitely make sure that we get the AGs involved, as Kathy has this year, and we'll continue to grow on that. And really appreciate that comment. The other thing is, keep in mind that our great tech host, Scott Strong, is recording this session. So we can actually use this session, and even though people aren't here today at the moment, we could use this, we can note this in a newsletter and say, hey, here the year-end story, and hear what's coming. And when you have a few minutes or you have an hour, go online and listen to it, and it's available.
Or when you have a speaker void, when that speaker list, that brand new speaker list is vacant.
All of these sessions are great fill-in speakers. Yes. Thanks for your comments.
Thank
John
you.
and Martha, your hands are still up. Do you have a second round of comments?
No, I'm
yeah,
gonna I'm shutting my hand off.
Martha's down, John's up again. Just real quick on the budgets. I know it's must be affecting the district. It's definitely a question in our club because, and again, we're on the island here. We don't know half of our members haven't even been attending the weekly Zooms. We don't know how many of those are going to be coming back to the club. We still have this bridge problem too. And so that's probably a little bigger problem than a lot of the other clubs have too. But the numbers and what you're working on in the district, I'm hoping that all of those things are considered as to how many members are we really going to lose when we open up totally again. So just it's something that I always worry about, and I'm a horrible one to keep track of money, of dollars. So I guess I'll take my hand down and let us all get on with our lives tonight. Oh, Kathy, one more thing. You're going to be doing that hike at the end of the month, did you say? Do we have to keep up with you?
Yes.
Good answer.
But you can, everybody can. All right, well, thank you for hanging in here. Nothing like listening to two governors talk back and forth, but you did it. So thank you. And this brings to a conclusion our 2020-2021 Festival of Training. So good night, everybody, and thank you. And thank you again,
Thank you,
Scott,
everyone.
our tech host.
Well done again. Well done.
Well done.
See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Kathy.